Welcome to the Red Stories. Subscribe, like, I think it's not difficult for you. Thank you. My ex-wife called and blamed me for ruining her future because I told her fiance the true reason behind our divorce. Was I wrong here? My ex-wife 30F and I 33M got divorced 3 years ago. We met while working at the same restaurant in college. We were together for 7 years and married for just over 3.5. We divorced because she cheated twice. 2 years into our marriage, I discovered she was having an affair with a former classmate. I collected enough evidence and confronted her. She confessed everything. The affair lasted about 2 months. This was an incredibly difficult time, but I believe in second chances and that people could change. We agreed to reconcile, went to marriage counseling, read books, and she cut off all contact with her classmate. She followed the steps. We had an open phone policy, told our families, and our relationship seemed to be recovering. 1 year into our reconciliation, her aunt passed away. I was swamped with work and couldn't attend the funeral, which was held back in her hometown, 5 hours away. Her parents and brother no longer lived there, so she stayed with a high school friend. I had met this friend a few times and was comfortable with the arrangement. On Saturday morning, my wife texted me that the car was packed and she was heading home. About an hour later, I received a Facebook message from the friend she stayed with. She said she couldn't live with herself if she didn't tell me the truth. My wife had gone out with old friends on Friday night, left her phone behind, and didn't come back until the following morning. I had received a text from my wife that Friday night saying she was going to bed early because the past few days had been emotionally draining. When my wife came home, I confronted her. She was reluctant to tell me anything, so I told her that if we were going to work through this, I needed the full story. That got her to confess. She had gone out with friends, ended up going home with an old high school friend, and while they didn't go all the way, things did happen between them. It didn't matter. I had heard enough. I left for my parents' house. My dad called my landlord and paid the termination fees to get me out of the lease. We packed up my things while she was at work. My parents connected me with a friend who was a divorce attorney, and the process took about 7 months. That was 3 years ago. Now I have an awesome girlfriend, and life is good. This past weekend, I received a Facebook message from a guy who is now engaged to my ex-wife. He introduced himself, saying he was probably being paranoid, but he wanted to know the real reason we divorced. He said he had asked her a few times, but she always got uncomfortable. She told him we grew apart, but she was vague. I told him the truth and offered evidence if he wanted it. He declined but thanked me for my honesty. The next day, I got a phone call from an unknown local number. It was my ex-wife, and she was furious. She accused me of trying to ruin her future. I calmed her down, and she explained that her fiance had asked for space and was staying with his parents. He said he needed to reevaluate their relationship. She asked why I had told him everything and why I was punishing her. She insisted she wasn't the same person anymore, had been in therapy, and deserved another chance. I got a little angry and told her that if she had truly changed, she should have been upfront with him about our past and her infidelity. Instead, she lied and hid the truth. And now it was catching up with her. She threw a few more insults my way and hung up. I haven't heard from her since. I told my girlfriend, and she reassured me that I handled the situation well. But I still feel guilty. I believe in second chances and that people can change. I didn't feel right lying to her fiancé, but I wonder if I should have handled it differently or just not responded at all. If she has truly changed, I don't want to be the reason her engagement falls apart. But I also believe I'm not the one hurting their relationship. Relevant comments. You be well within your rights to stalk her on Facebook and proactively tell any man she dates about her past. OP. I don't agree. Revenge and bitterness just lead to misery. I believe in forgiving, but never forgetting. The fiancé asked you for the truth, and you weren't obligated to lie for her. She's facing the consequences of her actions. OP. I don't know exactly what she told him, but it sounds like she would do anything to avoid talking about it. He said the most he's gotten out of her was we grew apart, which is a lie. Imagine if you had lied to him and said you grew apart. Would you want that on your conscience? OP. No, you're right. I wouldn't want to lie. I mostly wonder if I should have told him it wasn't my place to discuss and let her handle it. Update. I didn't expect to give an update, but last night I received a very long text from my ex-wife. I'll summarize. She started by apologizing for the way she spoke to me the other day. She acknowledged that this situation wasn't my business, and she was embarrassed it had come out. She admitted it was her fault for not being upfront with her fiancé. She explained that since they started dating, She had hidden the details of our marriage out of guilt and shame. It didn't come up until he proposed a few months ago, and even then, she avoided dealing with it. That's when she started therapy, though she's only had a few sessions, all recent. She said none of this was my fault and apologized for blaming me. She admitted she should have faced this issue long ago, gone to therapy after our marriage ended, and come to terms with her guilt. She also apologized for the affairs and the way she treated me during our marriage. She ended by saying she wasn't expecting a response and wished me well. She hoped her fiance and I would never bother each other again. This morning, I replied with a brief message thanking her for the apology. I told her I had moved on and suggested she send a similar message to her fiance. She replied, saying he had already received far more from her. That's probably the end of it. I don't believe in closure, but it was refreshing to hear her apologize without excuses or blaming external factors, which is what I always got before. Maybe it doesn't mean much since our lives haven't crossed paths in years and likely won't again, but I'll take the win today. Psychologist's perspective. Psychologists generally believe that in situations of infidelity and divorce, openness and honesty play a critical role in moving forward. Lying or hiding significant details, even out of shame or guilt, can undermine future relationships, as it did in this case. According to experts, cheating is often tied to deeper personal issues, and therapy is essential for healing and self-awareness. While people can indeed change, as your ex-wife claimed, true personal growth involves taking full responsibility for past mistakes, which includes being honest with future partners. By telling the truth when asked, you allowed her fiancé to make an informed decision. While difficult, it was a necessary step for his well-being and their relationship. Avoiding the truth, even to avoid conflict, can lead to more harm in the long run.